back in the next part of Order of Asia rules instead of Europe. The last episode we kind of focused on the expansion into Europe because Europe will still play a vital role in the series, obviously. But now I'll be focusing less on Europe and the Middle East this episode, and now on Asia. So basically, both last episode and this episode. Actually, this episode takes place afterwards. All episodes are in chronological order. But there's going to be a lot of major events happening in Europe, as well, including the expansion of this Bangkok civilization, originally a bunch of trading posts. They unite to basically form a small kingdom and continue to expand further south to create even more trading posts. This country is a trade empire, kind of like this country over here, and the Dratavia. I think that's how I pronounce it. Dratavia. Basically, this is another trade country. This is just what's it called? The Thai states, basically a bunch of trading states as well. But something big is gonna happen in China. No, there's gonna be a massive war in China. No, basically, Trafsa and Nima have been at enemies for a while, along with Sinan in this neutral state here as well. Trafsa does border the neutral state and does not want to abide by the neutral state's rules of being neutral. Trafsa invades the neutral state and takes out its capital relatively quickly. Nima and Sinan both invade Trafsa, which also causes Caesar and Tavi to side against Trafsa. This is going to be a massive war that's for the future of China. The invasion of the neutral state continues and the invasion of Sinan begins. With the help of Caesar, Sinan's capital is basically surrounded. Sinan requests help from Nima. Nima starts to send troops into Trafsa. They do get help from an unlikely ally, though. Sinan, a small republic, a small kingdom here, does send troops to help against these countries, basically so they can guarantee this country's independence. Zinan, the dictatorship, however, does not do anything, but their days are numbered anyways. Nima continues to invade Trafsa, but here's a Boldrock here, as well as the troops are kind of stretched thin. Front lines don't really move all too much as well, but Caesar. Oh wait. So does surround Sinan. Then this is gonna be a turning point in the war, as Sinan is basically Nima's only ally. Caesar takes out Sinan's new capital, where they create a new capital in the outskirts of the country. The invasion of the neutral country continues, using help from Caesar, and Sinan starts to basically lose the fronts. They took out all of the very populated areas as well, which causes Caesar to basically be defeated. As they basically ran out of army. Nima basically starts to invade the former area after the king of Sinan was murdered. Sinan wasn't murdered, and starts to push back these countries. No one is expecting Nima to be this powerful. They start to push back Caesar as well, and they create a peace treaty as well. Since Sinan doesn't exist anymore, there'll be no need for a neutral state. Sinan will lose all of this land here. Trabzon will be forced to give up these provinces. And Caesar will be annexing the rest of this area right here. Trabzon, this will basically be the first case of border war as well. And Tapsa and Caesar are basically, this is basically the equivalent of the Punic Wars. Okay. After the war, Trabzon, Tavi, and Caesar seek an alliance with Katsa, and they oblige. They see the threat of Nima, which has double the population of all these, which has around double the population and army of all three of these countries, and they were not expecting Nima to be that powerful. Nima also moves its capital from this city here to the more populated city down here. This is a risky move, but it will pay off at the very, very end. Nima also declares itself as the Nimis as it is considered. It is basically the second. It's basically the third or fourth. Actually, Nairo and Continental are also empires. Castle's an empire, so this is like the 6th or 7th empire. Oops. Nope. Let's fix this very quickly. I did not mean to do this. Here, but we'll fix it. Here, and all of these countries here will no longer have this random line going through them. Yeah, we fixed this. Variety starts to expand further south, basically creating a Vietnamese-esque civilization. So they stop there and stop the expansion. However, Nima is feeling very confident. They start to expand into a what, which is approved by the people, into the quote-unquote nomad lands. This is the first expansion by the Nimis Empire. Yeah. And Zinin doesn't take too kindly to this. Zinin, because the leader is crazy, declares war on Nima. It goes as well as you expect. Xena also invades Zinin, the crazy dictatorship, basically like North Korea. Zinin and Trabzon also invade Zinin, and Zinin is just basically just destroyed. Yeah, we weren't wrong by the days were numbered. Trabzon takes all of these provinces here. Xena, which is basically the old dynasty of Zin, basically the remnants of it, takes the rest up here, and basically the leader of this dictatorship, Zenin, is executed, basically, and the country will never exist again, as just this weird footnote in history. Again, this was a dictatorship like in North Korea, and basically the country no longer exists because the leader is super crazy. Xena also is now afraid because they border Nima, and Nima is basically become the Roman Empire of China. As well as Zetin and Trafsa Tavi are the same color. However, Tavi is also in a bit of trouble. Katsa basically wants this little portion of land right here. Tavi, of course, does not want to lose any of the land as it's very valuable to them. Katsa basically gives them a notice about this and starts to invade Tavi's outer colonies here, and also the Korean part of Tavi seeks its own country or state and starts to break away. This state basically becomes its own area here, and breaks away as well. Here, Tavi is basically lost here as well, and the peace treaty is over and Nima invades again. This starts the Second Antonaka War, and Nima basically starts to invade Ravsa and Caesar unprovokedly because they want access to the coast. They do this pretty easily as well, cutting off this area here. Caesar is basically just restricted to those coastal regions as well. Travsa is basically surrounded and destroyed, along with Xena's borders here, which causes Katsa to intervene in the war. Katsa does with its strong abilities does push back along with the new Korean state. They push back Nima back to around here, but Nima's forces are super strong, but they can't take so many losses like this, so they're just gonna go here because they don't really have any navy, so they're just gonna annex all of this area here, also annex this area here, but this is gonna be pretty scary, as basically Nima is basically becoming like the Roman Empire, but of Asia. Sunni, however, continues to expand into Japan. They basically take over this little area here and this little island here, but the problem is a new civilization wants to break away from Sunni, create a new civilization. This civilization pops up around here, and it is the Susin. It's a Susin civilization. The Susin civilization is created. And they put the capital right here. This is basically a new civilization here, and Sunni is of course not too happy about it, but they're not a very strong country. They only have like 1.9 million people. But most of the people live here, 1.4 million, which means the rest of these areas are very sparsely populated. And Susan also has a very low population as well, of only around 50,000 people, as it's mostly just a bunch of people who 30,000 people mostly live here, but this area is going to probably grow very, very fast in population. Same thing with here, with these other areas here that are controlled by Sunni as well. But Sunni doesn't have to worry about the areas here. Caesar, however, might survive as a civilization. They set up a small little colony in the Philippines, not New Zealand. And they basically create this because they discovered the Philippines. They skipped Taiwan for some reason. Then they decided to fly further off into the coast. So basically to avoid being invaded. However, there's gonna be some action in India. Tisa basically invades the rest of Bolsonaro, which was a big Indian civilization. Basically, Bolsonaro is destroyed and erased from existence, never to be remembered again outside of the history of these videos. As basically the Bolsonaro will be forced to become TCs. To seize. Okay, this country's name is pretty stupid. It really is. But they invade this country pretty quickly. And Bolsonaro is now erased from existence. Swift decides to also try to escape and survive. A new colony is set here by Swift. This is basically starting a colonization Cold War, because they know what's going to happen. The Continental is back for round 2. They don't really respect peace treaties all too much, and they start to invade Agari. Agari is basically defeated very quickly, and also they invade Swift. Swift, however, is defeated as well, but they're going to be split between the other country that also helped them as well. Here, both countries will basically be eradicated. Swift's colony does not know what to do anymore, as basically Swift is an extinct country now. So they continue with the name Swift, or will they create their own civilization? Of course, they go with the latter and create their own civilization. They find out about the news back home and just start to expand. So basically, this new civilization, which will be unnamed for now, they don't even have a capital city because it was a colony. They do form a capital city and a government as well. And this is basically an embryonic civilization, so this civilization was just created. And it's basically another trading civilization similar to this Bangkok civilization. However, this is going to be a lot of war in this episode. The Continental is basically one of the great powers now in the world as well. There is tensions building between Dosa and Tisa and Tika and Nairo as well. And they basically start a major war in India. This is going to be a very eventful video, but the invasion of Nairo begins by the Continental. However, Dosa decides to betray Nairo, and starts to attack from the east, alongside with Binu from the west. Nairo was not really expecting these really small, insignificant nations to really attack, but basically these countries are allies of the Continental, so they basically start to invade from the north and the east. Most of the army, basically, and most of the population has been taken out here as well. Also, Azak, the colony, the first colony by Nerva, starts to invade as well, as they want some land out of this as well, alongside Alex as well. They also start to invade this massive area here, and Boxol starts to invade this little area here. Tika does not go on any of this as well, and this is basically how Nairo is divided up. So basically there's now a peace treaty, and Nairo is not going to like the peace treaty. So the Continental is going to gain all of these lower provinces here. They're going to gain all of the lesser provinces. Alex is going to finally be able to connect the borders here and annex this one province. That's basically all he wanted to do. Ajax will annex this little province right here. They will become a more important country now. Boxo will annex this province. But Binu, which is one of the breakaway provinces, annexes all of this. They now own a lot of land. Dosa also manages to defeat them, and Nairo is basically now just restricted to this small little area, also known as the Nairo Lump. Nairo is now just a small lump state that is just a puppet state. I decided not to eliminate them because they were basically the first civilization in India. I think they were. So they have an opportunity in the future to basically come back. But basically it is in the age of the Continental, and now to the massive big civilization, which means all countries have to basically abide by the country's rules and do what the country wants, or else they will be invaded as well. Binu is basically also pretty powerful, and Dosa was also founded Zen That's why they're one of the more impactful civilizations to have lasted. Is because they are the founders of Zin. They have and also the Taoist nomads, and now they were basically the founders of the Chinese civilization as well. So I'm gonna keep them alive, obviously, for now. But the Continental can still go after these countries here and continue expanding this way. I plan to basically have the Chinese and the Indians meet eventually, but not at the. I don't think Continental is not gonna be the civilization to do so. Continental, of course, will not be the most powerful country for a while, but basically all of the countries that Continental is annexed, like Swift, will probably not exist anymore, and probably will have to adopt new ethnicities and provinces, as is so much with assimilation. Also, all of these countries are basically the same ethnicity, which is basically Chinese. So, yeah. However, the third, what do we call this? The third Sino War begins. This is the last Sino War, as it will basically prove who is the most powerful, Katsa or Nima. Both countries are actually very powerful. Nima is basically like a massive horde civilization with a king. They basically rebelled against Zin. And I think it was called Wei. They changed their name to Wei. But Nima basically starts to invade Stravsa and Tavi. Their massive army starts to basically defeat these countries relatively quickly. Same thing as Caesar. These countries are not prepared for the Third War. Again, we're basically supposed to be like this timeline into the Punic Wars. Xena is also being invaded relatively quickly. They're not a very powerful country as well. They also defeat Tavi and Caesar in relative ease, taking both of the capitals. Now it's Katsa versus Nima. It doesn't look pretty good for them as well. And yeah, this is why we didn't name the Korean country, because they were going to be taken out too, to basically create this Roman Empire, the Chinese Roman Empire, and basically they eventually take out Katsa, and it ends like that. This ends with Nima basically self-proclaiming itself as the Chinese dynasty. All of these countries are erased from existence. Katsa will probably come back, obviously, as a state here, but goodbye to Xena, which was the last remnants of the old dynasty. Stravsa, Caesar, and Tavi, and all these Chinese civilizations, they all tried to survive. We're also going to change the color of this country so it can be a more fitting color for China, which is usually a green color. Like, I use green like in the Civilization games. So basically, no, use yellow. Yellow is often used in games like Hoi 4. We're going to use a darker shade of yellow. I think that's a much more fitting one, so we can see the capital as well. The capital will now be Broadstone. No. Okay, I'm. Branton is like an English name. Xenon is the new capital. This little city here. Don't worry, cats are still. Tavi still exists. Tavi still exists as this little island here, so this is just Tavi. Their capital will be right here. Yeah. Also, Caesar still exists. So both two tiny civilizations have been basically become rump states here. The Caesar dynasty basically just exists here. They will basically exist in the state for hundreds of years now. And we have the Chinese Empire. Or we can call it the... I can call it a much more better name. I know I could use Chinese, but I think this is a much more better name. Since they took over the capital, though, the Chinese Empire, since that's the new capital, that's what they declared the capital of. This is basically the Chinese version of Roman Empire. They might also expand down here and expand into Japan. Well, yeah. Now we basically enter the Roman era as well. But now let's see what happened over the Middle East while all these changes in India and China happened. Well, now let's do the rest of the world. What happened in the rest of the world during this time? Sumer and Poppy were not able to hold these lands very well. They basically just were abandoned because no one wanted to move to them as well. Same thing with Kanta. They lost some of these lands because no one wanted to move them there, and they were just stuck with these areas. And not like Yami, where it's basically an existing civilization. So, Izilia, yeah, the Crows war on Yami because they want to have a coastline. So basically, they fight to get a coastline, but they don't win the war. But afterwards, they decided to just negotiate, and it's gonna be like a DLC-esque panhandle. It's gonna be like a very tiny panhandle. But yeah, Israel now has access to the coastline. Anything new in Africa? Well, Montama, Madama, I think that's it, or Mandma, Mandma, which is basically they broke off from Kanta. Yeah. He continues to expand into Italy as well. Again, Europe is not a very well developed place, but civilization is starting to appear in Europe. They're starting to appear in civilized Europe. I think it's Batavia, that's the civilization's name. Batavia also starts to expand. Yeah, basically this will be like China. It'll always exist. There'll always be like a civilization in this portion of Europe, but they'll start to expand further inland. They're kind of like the first real civilization of Europe as well. There are people here, obviously, that have been training for a while, but Batavia actually has a decent population of just 3.3 million. But the population growth is still very slow, as they have not really gone to the colder areas. Even like Dante, they want to expand, but the people like, no, it's too cold to go further up. But there will be the first civilization of the cold as well, and this is like a little, okay, we're gonna use a pink. We're gonna use a pink color. This is like the pink country. This country basically exists now. And basically, these are much more adventurous people. They actually move further up to like the coast here. And they're the first real European civilization. They start to expand further south and basically create the second real Europe civilization. Davin is just like a small kingdom that just controls a lot of land. Equal is now a new country. The capital will be up here, and yeah, that will be a European civilization as well. And why hasn't there been any civilization in the Americas? Because there's not many people there. There's only around 500k people total in the Americas. Yeah, that's not really enough people to create civilization. People did arrive in the Americas, but there's so few in numbers that it's mostly just tribes. Kind of like how Australia was before they were colonized, or Papua New Guinea, or the Philippines, or Indonesia. Mostly just tribes that no one bats an eye to. However, there are expeditions to Siberia, but they're too cold. Even like the Chinese Empire, they want to expand north into Siberia, but basically the people are saying, nah, it's too cold. Same thing with Japan as well. And Middle East update, well, Tringa and Sumer get into an argument. Basically, for some reason, one of the diplomats were murdered in Sumer land, in the Sumer capital, and this causes Tringa to be very pissed off. Pope decided to have no part in this war here, but this is gonna be a blow to this little alliance here. Tringa basically starts to invade Sumer with massive force, which they were not expecting at all. Or, you know, Trinket basically starts to get close to the capital as well to avenge their fallen comrade, their fallen diplomat. Sumer basically is defeated. They lose the capital, and now they start to invade a very unpopulated areas, and Sumer surrenders. Sumer will have to basically apologize for the whole scuffle and lose this little province right here, and he'll be kicked out of the alliance, and the king will be forced to advocate the throne. And they cannot attack Trinket ever again. And if they do, Sumer will basically be defeated as a country. And that is it about updates of the world. And if you've been waiting for updates about these countries up here, well, they still haven't done anything. They're basically the Switzerland of the world. So, yeah. Not really much happened in the Middle East, but this war has been this episode. Not many new civilizations have been formed, but there has been a lot of war and bloodshed. This era has been named the era of bloodshed, as there has been a major war in Africa. There was a major war in the Middle East, not really in Europe because civilization has just started in Europe, and of course a major war in India, not really Southeast Asia, and of course the three massive wars and which resulted in the Zenith Empire's founding and expansion. So that's about this video here. Goodbye.